and welcome to Sussex Street Christian Centre's reflection series looking at the Gospel of Mark. We're going through the Gospel by using the subheadings found in each chapter and using those as a basis for dividing up Mark's Gospel. We hope that you enjoy the reflections and we hope that you'll find them helpful in your journey with Jesus as you seek to be disciples of his. Today we're looking at Mark chapter 14, verses 53 and 54, and then 66 to 72. And I'm reading from the Contemporary English version. Jesus was led off to the high priest. Then the chief priests, the nation's leaders, and the teachers of the law of Moses all met together. Peter had followed at a distance, and when he reached the courtyard of the high priest's house, he sat down with the guards to warm himself by a fire. While Peter was still in the courtyard, a servant girl of the high priest came up and saw Peter warming himself by the fire. She stared at him and said, "You were with Jesus of Nazareth." Peter replied, "That isn't true. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any idea what you mean." He went out to the gate and a rooster crowed. The servant girl saw Peter again and said to the people standing there, "This man is one of them." "No, I'm not," Peter replied. A little later, some of the people said to Peter, "You certainly are one of them. You're a Galilean." This time, Peter began to curse and swear, "I don't even know the man you're talking about." Right away, the rooster crowed a second time. Then Peter remembered that Jesus had told him, "Before a rooster crows twice, you will say 3 times that you don't know me." So Peter started crying. As soon as Peter opened his mouth, he would have given himself away. His accent was Galilean. He was an out-of-place individual who couldn't really explain why he was in the high priest's courtyard. The disciples' earlier kind of brash confidence about not running away like everyone else, well, that soon went out of the window as soon as he was put under pressure. First, he denied being with Jesus in any way. Second, he denied being one of Jesus' followers. And then third, he strenuously denied even knowing Jesus at all. So a servant girl, somebody who he shouldn't have been afraid of, comes up, probably saw Peter enter the inner courtyard. Jesus' trial was being held in an upper room of the high priest's palace, and so Peter was in the courtyard below. And when the girl saw Peter's face more clearly in the light of the fire, she looked at him closely, and then the penny dropped. She recognized him as one of those who had been with Jesus, one of Jesus' disciples. This situation would have put Peter in a difficult position, standing there among the soldiers and the servants, right there in what was enemy territory, the high priest's palace. Peter didn't want to draw attention to himself, but still wanted to hear any news that there might have been about Jesus. But Peter certainly didn't want to be identified with the man who was on trial for his life upstairs. So Peter made a natural and impulsive response. He just lied. Peter simply got out of this sticky situation by saying he didn't understand what the girl was talking about. And then he made a quick exit away from the light of the fire. Temptation came when Peter least expected it. And this maybe is a warning to us to be prepared. Peter had been so ready to fight with a sword when Jesus was arrested, but not to face the accusations of a servant girl. As the story moves on, either the same girl or a different servant saw Peter standing there, and she didn't bother to go up and question him or engage in conversation with him. Instead, she began telling the people that were stood around or sat around that Peter was one of Jesus' disciples. But again, we see that Peter denies knowing Jesus. And this was Peter's second denial. And then some time passed, and they were sat around. The group of bystanders suddenly said, "We know who you are. We recognise that accent." Peter's dialect was closer to Syrian speech than to that of the Judean servants in the courtyard. Another giveaway. And while Peter may have hoped to naturally kind of blend into the group by chatting with them, by having conversations with them, instead of that, what happened was he was revealed by his accent. And clearly he didn't belong there. But once again, in face of difficulty, Peter lied. This time more vehemently, this time more strenuously. He decided to make the strongest denial that he could think of by denying with an oath. "I swear by God, I don't know this man." And that was his third denial. There are few of us who will get repeated opportunities, as Peter did, to profess or reject an allegiance to Christ. More often than not, if we're questioned, our first denial of Jesus would be enough to keep away any further inquiries from the people that we encounter. But it's not our identification with Peter's weakness or his failings as he denied Jesus that can help us. Rather, it's what happened later on that can be the source of our hope. When Peter repented and Jesus restores him, and that situation, that gives us confidence that God can handle our failures. But think about it. If Peter had just believed Jesus, he wouldn't have denied him. But Jesus knew ahead of time what was going on with Peter, the lack of faith maybe, his old ways have been a bit brash, a bit self-confident, a bit impulsive. And so Jesus warns him, be careful. When we read the Bible, we should read it like we believe that Jesus knows what is going to happen to us each and every day of our lives. When he says that temptations will come, that's true. But he also says that he will make a way of escape. And we must believe him and take that opportunity of escape. When Jesus says that Satan prowls around and devours those who don't resist the devil, we must believe him and resist. So Jesus knows what is going to happen in every day of our lives. And maybe what we need to do is to change our response to the situations that we face. Instead of cowering in a corner, instead of trying to hide away, that actually we take those opportunities to stand firm and to use the escape routes that Jesus gives to us.